In the depths of the unknown, where shadows whisper and fear takes form, welcome to Classic Storytime Hub, the place where classic horror and mystery come alive. Tonight, I bring you a reimagined version of The Doom That Came to Sarnath by H.P. Lovecraft, retold with a suspenseful narrative style that grips the soul and breathes new life into this haunting tale. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a journey into the shadows. In the forgotten land of Nar, there lies a lake without beginning or end. No river feeds it, and none escapes its still waters. Long ago, on its silent shore, rose the proud city of Sarnath. Yet today, Sarnath is nothing but a whisper, a memory swallowed by time. But before men ever claimed the lake, another city stood there, Ib, a place of gray stone, as ancient as the waters themselves. Its inhabitants were not like men. Misshapen and grotesque, they bore bulging eyes, sagging lips, and ears of strange design. Their skin shimmered green, the same hue as the lake and the mists that curled above it. They had no voices, and some say they drifted down from the moon itself, cloaked in fog, bringing with them both the city and the lake. The beings of Ib worshipped a single idol, a sea-green monolith carved in the likeness of Bogrug, the great water lizard. Under the swollen moon, they danced in dreadful rites before it, their ceremonies lit by fire once they had discovered its power. Yet little is known of them, for they belonged to an age far older than mankind, an age whose secrets lie buried in silence. Eons passed, and men came at last to Nar. Dark-skinned shepherds settled the river valleys, raising the cities of Thra, Ilarnek, and Kadatheron. But some tribes pressed farther, reaching the lake's edge, where veins of precious metal gleamed in the earth. There they laid the first stones of Sarnath, not far from Ib. When they beheld the dwellers of Ib, the men of Sarnath were filled with both wonder and loathing. For such beings, they thought, had no place in the world of men. Nor did they stomach the carvings etched upon Ib's monoliths, ancient, alien designs that seemed to mock the very passage of time. Why these creatures and their monuments endured so long, no one could say. Perhaps it was because Nar itself is a land apart, remote from both waking world and dream. As the people of Sarnath looked upon the dwellers of Ib, their revulsion deepened. The creatures were frail, yielding like jelly beneath stone and spear. Hatred soon overcame wonder, and so the young warriors of Sarnath, slingers, spearmen, and bowmen, marched upon Ib. They slaughtered its inhabitants without mercy, driving their strange limp bodies into the lake with long pikes, unwilling to touch them with bare hands. The gray monoliths of Ib, carved with alien symbols, fared no better. The men toppled them into the waters as well, marveling at the impossible labor that must have brought such stones from distant lands, for nothing like them existed in all of Nar. When the carnage was done, only one relic remained, a sea-green idol carved in the likeness of Bogrug, the water lizard. The warriors carried it triumphantly back to Sarnath, proclaiming it a trophy of conquest and a sign of dominion over the old gods of Ib. But that very night, something dreadful occurred. Strange lights shimmered above the lake, and by dawn, the idol had vanished. In the temple lay the high priest Terran-Ish, dead upon the altar, his face twisted in unspeakable terror. With his final strength, he had scrawled a single word upon the sacred stone: Doom. Centuries passed, Sarnath grew rich and powerful, its people forgetting the warning of Terran Ish. Caravans flowed between Sarnath and Ilanek, bearing metals, silks, jewels, and books. The city became a beacon of beauty and knowledge, its armies conquering far and wide, until kings of many lands bowed to the throne of Sarnath. Yet in the shadows of memory, only the priests and the oldest women still whispered of the vanished idol and of the sign carved in trembling strokes, the prophecy of doom that had never been erased. Sarnath, jewel of the world, pride of all mankind. Its walls, carved from desert marble, soared 300 cubits high and 75 wide, broad enough for chariots to race side by side along their gleaming tops. For 500 stadia they stretched, broken only where the city faced the lake, where a sea-green barrier of stone held back the waters that rose in strange unrest once each year on the night of Ib's destruction. Within those walls lay a city of wonder. 50 great avenues ran from the lake to the caravan gates, and 50 more crossed them, paved in onyx and granite. At each gate stood bronze doors, flanked by lions and elephants, hewn from a stone no man now remembers. The houses of Sarnath were built of glazed brick and chalcedony, each with its own walled garden and crystal pool. Travelers from Thra, Ilarnek, and Kadatheron marveled at the shining domes that crowned them, for no other city possessed such artistry. Yet the palaces and temples eclipsed even these marvels. Raised by Zokar, the ancient king, they towered so high that one might believe only the sky lay above. By torchlight, their walls revealed vast murals of kings and armies, dazzling and overwhelming to behold. Pillars of tinted marble rose in endless ranks, carved with designs of surpassing beauty. Floors of beryl, lapis, sardonyx, and carbuncle spread like jeweled gardens beneath the feet of those who walked there. Fountains cast scented waters into the air, their jets arranged with cunning art. Above all stood the palace of the kings of Mnar. Upon golden lions crouching in eternal vigilance rested the ivory throne, a single piece of ivory so vast that no man could say from whence it came. The palace held endless galleries and amphitheaters where lions, men, and elephants clashed for the pleasure of the rulers. At times the arenas were flooded with waters drawn from the lake, and there unfolded sea battles or desperate struggles between swimmers and monstrous creatures of the deep. Sarnath was magnificent beyond imagining, and yet in its splendor there lingered the shadow of a forgotten doom. 17 towers rose above Sarnath, temples of dazzling stone unlike any found in other lands. The tallest soared 1,000 cubits into the sky, its high priests living in splendor rivaling that of kings. At its base stretched vast halls where multitudes gathered to worship the gods of Sarnath, Zokalar, Tamash, and Loban. Their shrines, veiled in incense, gleamed like royal thrones, and their likenesses were so lifelike that one might believe the gods themselves sat upon ivory seats, gazing down at their worshippers. Up endless steps of shining zircon lay the tower chamber, where the priests looked out across city, plain, and lake by day, and by night studied the cryptic moon and the ominous stars reflected in the waters. Here, in secrecy, they performed the ancient rites of hatred against Bokrug, the water lizard. And here, upon the altar of chrysolite, still lingered the trembling scrawl of doom left by Terran Ish in his final terror. No less wondrous were the gardens of Sarnath, wrought by Zakhar the elder king. At the city's heart they spread wide, enclosed by high walls and crowned with a vast dome of glass. Through it, sun and moon and stars shone when skies were clear. When they were not, radiant images of the heavens hung in their place. Within, it was always spring. In summer, cool, perfumed breezes drifted through the air. In winter, hidden fires warmed the earth. Streams ran over bright pebbles, dividing meadows of green and gardens of every hue. Bridges arched across their courses. Waterfalls tumbled into lilied pools, and white swans glided upon the waters, while rare birds sang in harmony with the fountains. Terraces of emerald grass rose in ordered ranks, adorned with bowers of vines and blossoms, with marble and porphyry seats set for rest. Scattered throughout were shrines and small temples, where one might pause to pray to the lesser gods. Sarnath was a city of marvels, temples that touched the sky, gardens where spring never ended. Yet beneath its beauty, the shadow of Bokrug's vengeance still lingered, silent and unseen. Each year, Sarnath rejoiced in the feast of the destroying of Ibe. Wine flowed, music thundered, and dancers crowned with roses mocked the memory of the ancient beings they had slain. The kings themselves would gaze across the lake, cursing the bones that lay hidden beneath its waters. At first, the high priests shunned these revels. They whispered of the vanished idol, of Terran Ish who had died in terror, and of strange lights flickering beneath the lake. Yet, as centuries passed without calamity, even the priests joined the laughter, the curses, and the orgies of the feast. Had they not themselves performed the secret rites of hatred against Bokrug, the water lizard? And so 1,000 years of wealth and delight passed over Sarnath, wonder of the world and pride of mankind. But none of those feasts compared to the 1,000th year. For 10 years it had been spoken of across the land of Minar, and when the night arrived, men came from every city, from Thra, Ilernek, Kadatheron, and beyond, riding horses, camels, and elephants to witness the glory. Before the marble walls rose the pavilions of princes and the tents of travelers, and the shores rang with the songs of revelers. Within his banquet hall reclined Nargis Hay, the king, drunk on ancient wine from the vaults of conquered Panoth, surrounded by nobles and slaves. The tables groaned beneath strange delicacies, peacocks from the isles of Nariel, young goats from the hills of Implon, camel's heels from the Nazik desert, nuts and spices from the groves of Sadathria, and pearls from wave-washed Mtal, dissolved in the vinegar of Thra. Sauces beyond counting, crafted by the finest cooks in Minar, delighted every palate. Yet most prized of all were the fishes of the lake, vast creatures served upon golden platters encrusted with rubies and diamonds. The people of Sarnath feasted without fear, blind to the shadow that stirred beneath the waters. While the king and his nobles feasted in the palace, awaiting the crowning dish upon golden platters, revelry spread across the city. In the great temple tower, priests held their own celebrations, and beyond the walls, visiting princes made merry in their pavilions. It was the high priest, Naika, who first saw it. Shadows sliding down from the swollen moon into the lake, and a sickly green mist rising to meet them, wrapping the towers and domes of Sarnath in a sinister haze. Soon others too beheld strange lights upon the waters, and saw that the gray rock Akurian, once rising high above the shore, was nearly swallowed by the lake. Fear spread swiftly, though none could name its cause. Princes of Ilarnek and Far Rokol quietly struck their tents and departed towards the river Ai, compelled by dread they could not explain.
Near midnight, terror broke loose. The bronze gates of Sarnath burst open, and a frenzied multitude poured forth, blackening the plain. Their faces were twisted with madness, their voices shrieking horrors no listener dared question. They cried of the king's banquet hall, where through the windows no longer sat Nargis Hay and his nobles, but a horde of voiceless green things, bulging-eyed, flabby-lipped, with grotesque ears, dancing hideously, bearing golden platters that blazed with unearthly flames. The princes and travelers fled in panic, glancing back only to see the mist-choked lake consume the last of the rock Akurian. And so the tale spread across Nar, the doom of Sarnath. Caravans no longer sought its riches, and for long years none dared approach the accursed lake. At last, only bold young adventurers from distant Felona came, men of yellow hair and blue eyes, strangers to Nar. They found the still lake and the gray rock rising once more. But of Sarnath, nothing remained. Where once walls of marble had soared 300 cubits, there lay only marshland. Where once 50 million souls had thrived, now crawled only the detestable green water lizard. Even the mines of precious metal were gone. Doom had come to Sarnath. Yet in the rushes they found one relic, a curious green idol, ancient and sea-stained, carved in the likeness of Bukrug, the water lizard. Taken to Ilornek, it was enshrined in the high temple, and beneath the gibbous moon, the people of Nar worshipped it anew.
And thus the story ended. If you liked this journey into the worlds of classic literature, do not forget to support us by subscribing so we can tell you more. And hey, if there's a classic tale you'd love to hear told in this suspenseful style, drop its name in the comments below. Your suggestion might be our next chilling adventure.